Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel, where I'm always breaking down the hot sports topics of the day. My name is Mike. I'm continuing my 7-round NFL mock draft with picks 11 through 20 of the third round. Picks 1 through 10 of the third round are already up, as are rounds 1 and 2, so be sure to check those out. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you get all of my sports talk videos uploaded directly to your feed here on YouTube. Let's get right to it. Pick number 11 of the third round belongs to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In the first round, I had the Buccaneers addressing their needs at cornerback. In the second round, at tight end. In the third round, I think they go back to the defense. They're in need of an outside linebacker, and I look for Sio Moore from Connecticut to be the guy to fill that void here. Moore has familiarity with Shiano from his time at the Big East at UConn, Shiano at Rutgers, and we saw Moore at the Combine impressed with his athletic ability. I think his game tape matches that athletic ability, and I think he makes sense here for the Bucs. At the 11th pick overall in the third round. Pick number 12 of the third round belongs to the 49ers. And, if you've been listening to this mock draft, the 49ers have 14 or 15 picks. I think they'll end up trading some of these picks. But if they hold on to this particular pick in the third round, I think they use it to address the cornerback position. In the Super Bowl against the Ravens, I know it was only one game, but you saw some of Chris Culliver's vulnerabilities on the outside. Carlos Rogers is on the other side of 30 years old. Robert Alford from Southeast Louisiana is a name to keep in mind here with this pick. He can give them give them another playmaker on defense, as well as a guy to add depth on a defense that's absolutely stacked and can become even more potent, adding a guy like Alford. With pick number 13 in the third round, the Saints are moving to a 3-4 defense with Rob Ryan. The Ryans value their safety play, value their secondary play a lot. The Saints have a glaring need at the strong safety position. Roman Harper just didn't cut it last year. Shawn Williams from Georgia is the best strong safety I have left on the board at this point. I think he's a pretty good fit here for the Saints, for Rob Ryan, and what Rob Ryan likes to do. So Shawn Williams, the safety from Georgia, to the Saints here in the third round. The Chargers, right when I was writing this third round out earlier today, and yes, I do put some thought into this mock draft. Hopefully that comes through in the videos here. But, right as I was writing it out, I wrote John Bostic's name. I looked up to NFL Network, which I had on in the background, and they were announcing that Takeo Spikes was going to be released by the Chargers. So now more than ever, I think that the Chargers need an inside linebacker. John Bostic from Florida, I think will definitely be here at this point in the draft. Again, as a fit for what they're going to do here with this 3-4 defense for San Diego. They need to get younger at the linebacker spot. And, I think Bostic is an excellent way to do that. You've seen a lot of these Florida linebackers adjust well to the NFL, most notably Jermaine Cunningham and Brandon Spikes. And I think Bostic will be in the next line of those guys to come from Florida and make an immediate impact here for the Chargers in the third round. The 15th pick overall belongs to the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins, I had them addressing mostly defense here early on in the draft. And I think offensively, something they need to make sure they get in this draft is a pass-catching tight end. Fasano, we'll see if they bring him back. Fasano's a good threat in the passing game. He's kind of like really the perfect mixture tight end, blocker and pass catcher. I think if they can give Ryan Tannehill a better pass-catching option at tight end, either to go along with Fasano or even if Fasano leaves, I think it'll be a good, a good pickup for Tannehill. It'll kind of open up or exploit the middle of the field more, so then you can get the ball to a Devon Bess, a Brian Hartline, and whoever they might bring in via free agency at the wide receiver position. And to fill this need, Vance McDonald, from Rice, is a guy that I think the Dolphins should target here in the third round, in the middle of the third round, and as a guy, again, that can stretch out the middle of the field and give Tannehill another young weapon to throw to here. Pick number 16 belongs to the Rams. If you remember back to the first round, I had them addressing the offensive guard spot. They also need to address the tackle spot. Roger Scaffold was awful for them last year. They have a glaring need at that position. David Bakhtiari from Colorado is expected to be here in the third round. And again, a lot of these younger teams, to go the way of the offensive line, to have these offensive linemen grow with the quarterbacks, I think makes a lot of sense. So, you have a Jonathan Cooper in the first round, followed by a Bakhtiari in the third round, and you got some young linemen to go along here with Sam Bradford as he continues his development. Next pick belongs to the Steelers. Now, the Steelers, Mike Wallace, it's a foregone conclusion. He's going to go via free agency. I think when you have a guy like Roethlisberger, who's obviously the cornerstone of your team, he's your franchise player, I think getting him someone not to just outright replace Mike Wallace, but at least a young receiver for him to start to get some experience with makes sense here. Aaron Dobson from Marshall is a taller receiver, a speed-burning receiver that can be a vertical threat. And again, not replace Mike Wallace's production, but at least give Roethlisberger another viable option to throw to, and a guy that can stretch the field. When Roethlisberger's running around buying time, a guy that can stretch the field and make defenses worry. Aaron Dobson from Marshall to the Steelers here in the third round. The 18th pick in the third round belongs to the Cowboys. The Cowboys all of a sudden have a definite need at the safety position. They cut Gerald Sensabaugh. Okay, they made some other moves at safety in the offseason. At this pick here, Tony Jefferson from Oklahoma, I think makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you get a kid from Oklahoma going to the Cowboys. You get him joining Monty Kiffin's defense, which again, that cover two that Monty Kiffin's most likely going to run. The safety position's a very important position. You remember Dexter Jackson. You remember John Lynch from his years in Tampa Bay. And, to get a young safety again that they can mold in Tony Jefferson, I think is a pick they need to make here in the middle of the third round. Pick number 19 in the third round belongs to the Giants. The Giants, they re-signed Will Beatty. I think they have another, they still have a need, maybe not to replace David Deal this year, but certainly to get someone waiting in the wings, because David Deal did not have his best season last year. I think they'll bring Deal back this year, but again, just to build that offensive line depth so they have someone in back of Deal if, one, he doesn't perform this year, or two, if he leaves in the next year or two. Offensive tackle, Oday Aboushi from Virginia is a guy I think that, is an intelligent guy, will learn well in this Giants scheme. The Giants like to kind of bring their draft picks along a little slower usually and develop players pretty well. And I think Aboushi can be one of these guys they develop, sort of like a Will Beatty, and insert him, and he can be eventually in a year or two be a cornerstone of that offensive line. Pick number 20 overall again belongs to the Dolphins. The Dolphins, I had them addressing, the secondary a lot in the first two rounds. I think they go back to the secondary again. Again, when you play in the division with Tom Brady, when he's your chief competition, I don't think you can ever have too many defensive backs that are quality. If you look at when the Jets had success against the Patriots 3-4 years ago, it was because they had plenty of defensive backs and they ran exotic sort of blitz schemes to try to confuse Tom Brady. I think the way the Dolphins should go is I had them going defensive lineman in the first round, pass rusher, to team with Cameron Wake. Now you start to build the secondary, and DJ Swearinger from South Carolina, if he's here at the safety position, again, he upgrades a position that is a position of need for the Dolphins. And begin to break apart this draft, the Dolphins can do some serious work here as far as getting some weapons for Ryan Tannehill and really rounding out that defense to really be a competitor here in the AFC. That's picks 11 through 20, guys, of the third round. Let me know what you guys think. If you disagree, if you agree with some of the picks that I had for maybe your favorite team or for the teams in general here. Again, be sure to subscribe to my channel, guys. I'll be probably doing the end of round 3 here in a couple hours, so be sure to check that out. And as always, guys, thank you for listening and have a great night.